today we're gonna install this new starter. Let's do this. Here's the old starter. So this is stock one. And then here's the back side of the starter. We're gonna take off 1, 2, and then 3. It's the one up here. So first you're gonna disconnect these nuts that connect to the battery. All right, last two connectors are these two little ones right here. Remove those. Okay, now that we pull out the 3 bolts from the back, we'll be able to pull the starter out. All right, so I've been trying to wiggle this starter out, but unfortunately, because I have the upgraded DPI header, it's blocking and I can't get the starter out. So I'm gonna have to take out this header in order to gain access. After doing a bunch of wiggling and loosening up the header, I can finally pull out the starter. Whoa, it's heavy. Well, here's the comparison of the starters. Here's the stock one, made in France. And here's the new one. This one, the stock one, is considerably heavier. And this one's pretty hefty, but not as heavy. Got the same type of terminals. All right, let's get it installed. All right, so I already did this, but we have to make a new connector for this, which was here. So I didn't have this butt connector. So what I did, since I'm not even gonna use this starter anymore, I just snipped off the connector. So that's where I cut it here. And then I made a new connector, which will connect to the new starter. So I just extended a wire and then I attached this connector right here, which will go onto the new starter right there. So I pulled out this bracket, is right behind the starter, and it mounts up to the transmission. So it protects the transmission from dust and dirt, but as you can see, it looks a little beat up. So what I'm gonna do is sand it down, get this old paint off, and then repaint it. All right, I stripped off the paint, most of it. There's some little parts, but the paint, I got most of the rust off and existing paint. So now it's time to paint it. All right, the bracket is all nice and painted. I did it with a flat black, but it looks all nice. Okay, time to install it. So you want to put the bracket like that and try to align it with the mounting holes. So I got the starter in, and you got to make sure that that frame, that the one that I painted, is flush against this, the transmission. And then what you're gonna do is you can hold the starter, you see my hand, from the back side. What you have to do is try to align the holes, and while you're doing that, kind of wiggle the starter so that the gear in the starter will mate up with the gears of the flywheel. And then while you're doing that, you'll actually feel the teeth like meet up, and then the starter will be flush against the transmission. And then while you're holding it from that side, then that's when you can start installing the bolts. So I started with the one on top, screwed it in just to hold it in place. And then I did this one. And then finally I did this one. So now I'm just tightening up the starter. And then here's the starter from the other side. So go ahead and start tightening the bolts. So you're gonna torque all 3 bolts to 19 foot-pounds. So the 2 wires are gonna go to this small post, and then that new wire that we made will go to the small terminal as well. As you can see, I got the positive terminals. So there's 3 of them, and the positive terminals go to this post. Nothing goes here. And then there's the small posts with the other wires, and then just tighten them down, don't over tighten, and then that's it. That's all the wiring. All right guys, here comes the first start with the new starter. Let's see how it goes. Check out the voltage. There's the oil pressure. So the voltage was at 13, so getting some more voltage. Let's see what happens when you rev. Yeah, definitely voltage has gone up. Wow, it has a distinct sound to it. Also, I noticed that the oil pressure gauge is much more steady. My voltage gauge, it hasn't ever went above 13. So that's a good sign. Well, there you go. Installed a couple of components, did an oil change. Definitely will keep the car moving and going. Engine bay looks nice and clean with these new components, especially like the starter, how clean it looks, and very small too. Yeah, and even this, the oil sender, looks nice and clean. Hopefully we will replace some more components, but until then, that's the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the future.